Welcome back to RTC, ladies and gentlemen. Joe's Craig, and today we're going to be talking about the LVT. This vehicle's origin is from a swamp access vehicle called the Alligator, which was originally made for rescue operations and civilian use. Donald Roebling, its developer, built and improved the version of this tank and vehicle with better speed in water. At the time, the United States Marine Corps became very interested in this amphibious design as they began drawing up their amphibious warfare doctrine. They requested a more seaworthy version of the vehicle for use in their military operations, though Roebling and Navy were reclusive on the idea. At the time, the Navy believed that they had the current vehicle in store already. The idea brought fruit when World War II broke out in Europe, and Roebling created a military version. After a few trials and improvements like a stronger engine, the Bureau of Ships placed a contract for about 100 of these vehicles with all steel armor. The first ones arrived around July 1941, with 200 more ordered before the initial contract was finished. The vehicle's design was adopted and designated the LVT, with many different variants of the vehicle produced throughout the war. The first version that we see here is the LVT, or the LVT-1. It could carry around 18 men and was around 4,500 pounds of equipment. The Marines first used the LVT-1 in Guadalcanal with 128 available to the 1st Marine Division. Usage in the field revealed that the LVT was too thinly armoured for rapid deployment back and forth from ships and landing sites. The Marines saw the vehicle's potential as an assault vehicle. So in June 1941, the Marines pushed forward with Roebling's design of the LVT armed gun turret. In order for this to be possible, the LVT went under a redesign into the LVT-2 Buffalo, which had a new powertrain suspension to allow better performance on land, and able to carry up around 6,950 pounds worth of equipment. It was this design that the current turret-equipped LVT was created. The LVT's two armaments with the turret from the Stuart series and the M8 howitzer motor carriage. These two turrets variants were designated, the LVT-A1 and the LVT-A4, respectively, the A standing for armoured, and as the LVT was built with additional armour to withstand small arms fire. 510 of the LVT-A1s were created, while 1,890 of the LVT-A4 were created. Other variants of the LVT were produced featuring redesigns for its purpose of infantry fire support and cargo bearing. Some of the significant ones was the LVT-4 in August of 1943. That moved the engine forward and had a rear ramp door which increased capacity from 18 soldiers to around 30, making the previous load carrying LVTs obsolete. The LVT-A4, the LVT-4 was the most numerous of the LVT variants, and it had around 8,351 units. But its combat use of the LVT, with the LVT family being a cargo carrier in Guadalcanal, it's unarmoured at the time and only had machine guns as their main armaments. The next usage was in Tarawa, which saw the first usage of the newly designed LVT-2. And the vehicles in both cases carried ammunition troops wounded back and forth to the ships and the beach. After Tarawa, the LVT inventory increased by the battalion, as well as the appearance of the gun-armed LVT-A1 and the LVT-A4. So the LVT family continued to see service in Bougainville, the Marshall Islands, Saipan, Peleliu, Leyte, which had its largest use there in the war, Iwo Jima and Okinawa. The LVT also saw use in Southeast Asia, used by the British, but never saw actual combat. Outside the Pacific, the LVT also saw use in the European theatres of operations, and the first use was in North Africa in November 1942 during Operation Torch to Land Troops, where its best usage was to get stranded landing boats back into action. The LVTs were also given to the British part of the land lease, and the LVTs were used in Normandy landings and other operations in Europe, such as crossing the Rhine River in Germany and the Po River in Italy. After World War II, though, the LVTs continued to see lots of action in multiple different conflicts in the world. A number were given to the Chinese nationalists in the Chinese Civil War by America, Many of these were captured by the Chinese PLA, and some were, with some of them converted to use the 75mm howitzer or the ZI S2 anti-tank gun, I believe. The Americans used a number of the LVTs in the Korean War, and I believe they also used it at the landing at the, not the landing of Incheon, I think it's called in Korea, and the attack of Seoul. The French also used the American supplied LVTs during the Indochina War and the Suez Crisis. So, let's talk about a few pros and the cons about this tank in-game. So, let's see. Its pros, I believe, would be there. It's very fast and maneuverable on all terrain. I have a lot of fun playing with this tank. It also has 6 crew members, which is great, by the way. It's fast firing and it has an accurate 37mm gun. Its crew were quite spread out in the tank, so it's less likely to get killed in one shot. Great gun depression at the side and front. Heavily armored turret. The heavily armored turret is a great add-on to it because it can actually bounce rounds off it. It has 2 machine gunners that can fire at high angles, enabling anti-air. It has a small engine, so it makes it really hard to hit, which is the good thing about it. Yeah, it's also a reserve. It's funny enough, it's still a reserve. It's a reserve tank, so there's actually no repair fees. It's amphibious, but in Warthunder this was actually creating the first reserve floating tank. Its cons would be it's huge. It's massive, so it's a shell magnet. Barely any armor to speak about, really. Bad depression at the rear, exposed lower glacis. It has weak armor and a huge size makes it vulnerable to artillery. It's way too high profile. It's unable to aim while moving, and it has bad suspension to make it unstable at humps. So, with the good mix of pros and cons there, I actually overall really like this tank. It may be a bit of a shell magnet and it has a bit of tin armor, but does have a really decent 37mm gun. And I also like the idea that the crew is not too close to each other in the tank itself, because a lot of times during Warthunder you can get one shot by either like having your entire crew taken out, or hitting something vital and then killing the crew. With the engine as well, which is my favorite thing, is that it's very, very, it's very small. So it makes it hard for anyone to actually get a proper shot in at you, which I think is great. Yeah, that's pretty much it, folks. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it and playing World of Tanks as well. Not World of Tanks, Warthunder. I do play World of Tanks as well. But anyway, if you liked the video, hit that like button, folks. Just hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. So I'll see you guys next time on RTC. See you guys.